All right, lovelies, it's a beautiful day. We're going to have a very beautiful conversation. And now I'm just wondering, like, when you hear some of these stories about how women, it's just difficult for them to leave an abusive marriage. I wonder, like, I had to do a research to help me understand, apart from just being a strong woman, why would you want to stay in a place where you're constantly disrespected, maligned? It's almost like you don't exist. You're just there. And some of them will say, oh, it's because of my children. But I've always known that even when you stay in such abusive relationships, just for the sake of the children, it invariably affects them in the long run, because these children grow up with very low self-esteem, because they're looking at you and saying to themselves, like, if my mom, the woman that birthed me, can allow herself to be constantly disrespected, and maligned in that place she called relationship or marriage or whatever, then who am I? Of what use am I? I really don't have a voice. I really don't. And a lot of them, tend to also just generationally, before you know it, you have created an abusive generation, whereby I've seen situations where the mother was abused, the daughter was abused, the granddaughter goes into another abusive marriage, and they all sit down and they're telling tales of abuse, and and I'm looking at myself and I'm wondering, hey, why don't you guys do something about this? It's looking like like a pattern here, like a generational pattern. So today I want to begin to ponder and even bring it into the open, like, why, just why for God's sake and for love's sake will you want to just remain in an abusive relationship? Number one reason, I think, is emotional or financial dependency. Emotional dependency, especially when you have an individual. Because I'm thinking this video can actually be tailored to both male and female. You have an individual who they're not comfortable in their own skin. In other words, they have their 10 feet, but they can't stand alone. They have to constantly be able to lean on somebody. They have to have someone to lean on. Yeah, lean on me. So they have to lean on somebody. Otherwise, they can't stand alone. They just feel like, they just cannot stand alone. They have to constantly either have somebody validating them, or somebody, just breathing over them, or somebody that they're sharing something with, or somebody that they're doing something with. It's not like, like, you can't just really stand on your own 10 feet and say, you know what? I came into this world alone. I'm exiting it alone anyway, so yeah. There's that language, one man riot squad. Like, they just don't believe in that. So when they have to constantly depend on somebody, whether the person is abusive, whether the person is adding credit to their life, or whether the person is maligning them, or whether the person, has no regard, no value for them, they don't care. As long as they have somebody that they will, and even in the social circle, they're able to just sit back and say, oh, my husband said, and I told my husband and my wife and my this and my. They cannot, for the life of themselves, say, I chose to do this. just refusing to take responsibility. They can't do that. That's one of the major excuses or reasons why people stay in an abusive relationship. Now, the second one will be financial dependency. Sometimes I tag that as laziness, because it gets to a point where you should be able to know how much you need to be able to sustain your lifestyle. If you have to pay your rent, you have to buy a car, you have to pay your car note, your insurance, your health insurance, your groceries, your transportation, you should be able to know how much all of those things cost. And put to work how much you need to be able to provide for yourself. Yeah. Not like you're trying to build castle on another man's lot. When you know that you have a $2,000 bill every month, but you chose to stay on a lot that has $3,500. So at the end of the day, you have to constantly lean on this other person, depend on this other person who will be providing the extra $1,500. And because of that $1,500, you mortgage your peace, you mortgage your love, you mortgage your authenticity, you mortgage who you are, you mortgage your future, you mortgage your happiness, you mortgage, your health, you mortgage everything. Because, you want to just be there, and just be that person, we have a relationship. We have something to do. We are doing this. We are planning this. And where all of that resides? Lies. It all resides in the place where you begin to lie to yourself, and you're unable to tell yourself the truth. You're unable to take responsibility for the things that are happening with you, through you, and by you. So, I'm going to end this episode with a story. And actually, that story is one of the reasons why I started this storytelling. Now, once upon a time, which is even now, there is a woman who called up her friend and complained about how, oh my God, her husband is a whore. Like, oh my God, it's just a street dog. Oh, it's all over the place. Oh my God, he's done this and he's done that, and she can't tolerate it, and da 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 da. And then her friend says to her, okay, so the top of all of this, you have a good job. So you're working, you're paying 90% of the bills. So this guy is everywhere. He does not respect or regard you in any way, or even assist or any way. So why? What's the whole essence of the relationship? And she says, oh yeah, I just don't know how to get out. So, okay, let me help you navigate. And so he put her through a program. And she's like, oh yeah, she's going to start this program so she can really find her feet, because she's just been weeping and crying and miserable, and okay. And we're like, okay, yeah, at least she's trying to find herself. And the time comes, and it's some weeks later, and we get an invite to a 25 years wedding anniversary. I say, whose wedding anniversary is this? Say, join us as we celebrate. And I'm like, so I called her up to say, listen, oh, there's some repentance going on here, right? Like, the guy is repented, and and restitution. And so you are like, you can forgive, let it go. I mean, come on, right? That's where we are, right? And she goes, I just realized I've been married to him for 25 years. Why would I leave and go and start all over again? That's another fear. So I'd rather be happily single than miserably married. How about that? On this note, think.